If we're to advance podcasting, we have to lose the been there, done that mentality. A reimagining of what podcasting can be is underway, and it needs the help of podcasters like you if it's to succeed. Welcome to Season 4 of Podcast Pontifications. Thanks for letting me take a few weeks off. Let's jump right into things. We've dropped the ball. I mean, collectively, all of us who've been involved in podcasting since the beginning, beyond just simply hosting a podcast, we've all done this. We all got blindsided by a big company some 15 years ago, way at the beginning. And we ceded our future to the suits that run that company. Yep. Sure, I mean, we had exceptions to that rule, but by and large, we, in the podcasting back-end system, we all adopted a stance of, well, you know, if Apple is not going to adopt some change, it's never going to go mainstream, so why should we even try to take bold, innovative steps? So instead, we innovated the way very big companies like Apple innovate, making small, incremental changes that have a limited impact across the broader spectrum of podcasting and what podcasting can actually be. And that's why it is that every podcast hosting company does basically the same thing. They all look the same. It's why every podcast listening app looks the same, basically does the same thing, with differences just on the edges, but basically homogenization has taken over all of podcasting. That's good, that's bad, but it's what it is. You know, any truly innovative ideas that were put into practice were probably beyond their time. And so they were either abandoned, all of them were abandoned basically, and also assumed toxic and labeled with the, yeah, we tried that and it failed, so it'll never work. And we all collectively bought into this idea for years. It took a global pandemic and the re-emergence of Adam Curry to show us a different path that he's calling Podcasting 2.0. And still, not surprisingly this time, we're collectively resisting. Now, part of that is due to politics. You may not buy into or perhaps even understand some of the extreme edges that get pushed in the Podcasting 2.0 movement. I know that describes me. I don't buy into a lot of that, and I don't get some of that either. However, the work that they're doing on the namespace, which extends RSS feeds, the lifeblood of podcasting, the work they're doing there will allow us podcasters, you podcaster, to do so much more with your audience, and it's working. It's a slow rollout, but I promise you it's working. It's being used. And so finally, for the first time in more than 15 years, we're seeing the bedrock of podcasting shift. And it's not by Apple, and it's not happening on Spotify, and probably not even any of the apps that you have and I currently have listed on the podcasting page of your website. Maybe not even supported by your podcast hosting company, who may be and probably is taking a wait-and-see approach, because they too are waiting for Apple and Spotify, Google, and some other big directory and or app to come along and implement those changes. But those big directories and apps aren't going to come along, not unless they have to. Remember, they only jumped into the podcasting bandwagon, onto the podcasting bandwagon, when the space was looking interesting to them, something that they thought they could exploit. So it's up to us to make this space look interesting. Now, look, if you're not techie, there's probably not much you can do today with Podcasting 2.0 and the podcastindex.org. There's not much you can do right now. except for pressure those who can. And that's your podcast hosting company. Pressure them to support these new namespace tags that are coming out. Email them. Hit them up on social media. If they won't do that, then you can switch. It's easy to switch podcast hosting companies, easier than ever. Switch to a podcast hosting company that takes a more forward-looking stance and is working hard to adapt and adopt as many of these new namespace tags as they can. You can also go to newpodcastapps.com and test drive some new listening apps that you're using right now to listen to podcasts. Try something new and see which ones are supporting these new tags and how those new tags might impact you as a podcaster, which, again, encourages you to go to your podcast host and say, more. I want to be able to do this too. Now, look, I recognize that many, if not most, podcasters just want to sit back, produce the best show they possibly can, and not worry about all this techie stuff. But I don't think that describes you. If it did, you probably wouldn't be listening to Podcast Pontifications. Apple, having dropped the ball since April 2021, is a gift. Anchor/Spotify making RSS feeds optional now is a gift. It's up to us, it's up to you and to me and the companies we pay to host our content to take advantage of that gift and push podcasting to the next level. So as I've said for years on this program, please spread this idea with other podcasters. Get them as excited about the future as you are. Share a link to this episode or this article with them so that they can take that step toward the future and help all of us. And if you love this idea and you want to support me, please go to buymeacoffee.com/EvoTerra. That's it. I shall be back tomorrow with yet another Podcast Pontifications. Cheers!